All right, everybody, welcome back to the Heath Barn. Hope that we've all had a lovely day and that we are super psyched for this episode. It's a great one. My wife and I, Mandy, and a few other people went a few weekends ago to see a band that I had never seen before. Their name is Mullet Over, and they were so freaking good that I thought I want to get them here in the barn and have them do a pod. So I tracked them down, and they came in, and it was a blast. So it is Mike and Cindy McLeish. They are the co-founders and the creators of the band Mullet Over. So we talk about all kinds of stuff. We talk about their history, how they became so musically gifted. They talk about their history, their backstory, their family, all that kind of stuff, things, kind of how their gigs work, and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. And then we get into, they start telling some stories from their time as a band. A pig may or may not be involved. You'll just have to listen. But so then we just kind of get into some stories. We start talking about music, stories, and all these kinds of things. And it was a lot of fun. So, like I said, there might be a pig. Ted Nugent's thigh may be involved at some point in a conversation. You'll just have to listen. And if you listen to the very end, you'll be able to see or hear how they came up with the name Mullet Over for their band. So, amazing 80s covered band, one of the best bands I've seen in person in a long time. So it was a pleasure to have them in here. Now, you can find them. Well, before I say that, I listened back to this, and whenever I have people in here interviewing them, sometimes if you go back to YouTube, if you're in our age, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're younger, you may have to look it up, but it's like Chris Farley on Saturday Night Live when he's interviewing like Paul McCartney and people, or just anybody. He's always like, "Hey, you remember that time?" And they're like, "Yeah." He's just like, "That was awesome," And I listen back to it. I'm like, "I sound like Chris Farley from the SNL episodes," because it's like, "Oh, you remember that gig you guys had?" Like, "Yeah, that was awesome," But despite my mediocre interviewing skills, it's still a great listen. Because like I said, a lot of their story is very unique, and it's really, really cool. So I'm just thrilled that they were in here, and they were a lot of fun, and it'd be great to have them back sometime and maybe do some more fun stuff with them. So thank you to them for coming in, Mike and Cindy McLeish. Now, their website is mulletoverband.com. It's got like all their gigs coming up. It's got their songs, song list, videos, shirts, all that kind of stuff. Basically everything that Mandy and I say we're going to turn welcome to the heathbarn.com into, but just haven't done it yet. So yeah, it's kind of what we're aspiring to do with our website. We just haven't done it yet. I do have the rights to welcome to heathbarn.com. We just got to get it up. And I've been saying that for months. So their website is what we want ours to look like, or in somewhere in that ballpark. It's a great website. And I might as well promote myself as well. If I'm promoting them, you can find me on my website, jheath2286.podbean.com. You can find these pods on there, the entire list, but you can also find them on all major podcasting formats. I had a notice a few days ago, and there were like 84 downloads in a day from iTunes. So now we're on iTunes as well, which is great. So find us on there. But, and then all the social media, things like that, I put up things promoting the episodes and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get back, into videos and all that good stuff. So TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, personal page, and business page. John Heath's personal page. Welcome to Heath Barn for all of those things on social media. So a lot of fun stuff coming up. But this was a very fun episode. They have a great story, and it's just really, really cool to listen to how they came about, making this band. And I'm telling you, they are amazing and very, very gifted playing instruments and singing and all those things. So it's great to hear people that are awesome at their craft discuss it. So it was a lot of fun. I want to thank them for coming in. Again, Mike and Cindy McLeish, creators of Mullet Over, a wonderful band. Thank you for listening, and welcome to the Heath Barn. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Heath Barn. And I'm fanboying out. I'm super pumped. We have Cindy and Mike McLeish, and they are the founders, creators of the best band that I've seen in person in a long time, Mullet Over. Now, thank you for being here, first of all.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. Here's how all this went down. A couple weeks ago, and I'm going to give my oldest sister a shout out, because if I don't, she'll be like, well, I'm the one that saw him first, and blah, blah, blah. So I will. So my oldest sister, Heather, she's seen you guys before. Told us how awesome you guys are. So then you guys were going to be at 36 Saloon in Rockville, which isn't too far for us. So we went over there with my sister, and another couple went, and you guys were just... I have questions for you, because I don't know. Like, I was blown away at how good you guys are, and so I thought, hey, I'm going to track them down and get them on here.
Hey, thank you.
Yes. So I don't know if you remember, but Mike remembered. We came up and talked to him for a minute after the gig. Yeah. But I don't know if you remember, but you were playing the sax. Cindy was, and she was coming through, walking through the rows. And I shook your hand, and you were like, you leaned over and you're like, you have the softest hands I've ever felt.
I told you about that.
And I said, and I told her, I'm like, that's just years of avoiding manual labor. She
did. Yeah. I told you.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, but I was, I couldn't believe it. And from my perspective, like, I've always been obsessed with the 80s, which is what you guys specialize in at your... the kind of music you play, but I was the youngest of four, and I graduated in 96, but I was like, I had two older sisters that were, so they're like crimping their hair and doing all this and blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like outside their doors while they're getting ready, like dancing to 80s songs. And then, I even remember like my senior year in high school, you had to do like a big term paper, took like the whole like semester, and I picked the 80s for mine. I did like 80s music shows and movies and all that. So, so a lot of the pods that we've done on here are 80s related. So, that's another reason I wanted to have you guys on. But I would just like to know kind of the history, how you guys became so musical. Because you play, Cindy, you play multiple instruments. You are, Mike, the guitar was just absolutely phenomenal. So, like, when did you guys start playing, and how did you become so interested in music and all that good stuff?
Well, in grade school I played clarinet, and my band teacher said, you're a saxophonist, so here's an alto. And I went home and cried to my mom, I don't want to play it. I can't. Yeah. And I did, and then I was just made to do that. So right. I played that, all through high school, and you started playing guitar when you were, 13? Something?
Yeah, about that. First grade, somehow I ended up with a Magnus chord organ, a tiny little organ with the fan on it that just blows air. And I was intrigued by the sheet music, where you could see something written down and transpose it or figure out how to play it. I didn't care about the songs themselves. They were old ones. I didn't even recognize them. But it was just a matter of following the instructions. And so I played the keyboards on and off, starting in first grade, and didn't really take it too seriously. First band was with my older brother. I think I was 13, and I played an electric piano, and he played guitar and sang, and we were terrible, but he stuck with it as well all through high school, but I wanted to play the guitar. He had the guitar, so I just sneaked the guitar out from under his bed to practice on it and get it back under there. He'd find out, and I'd get in trouble. So my aunt got me a $3 silver tone guitar that had been spray painted orange, and that was my first guitar, and I just played it and played it. And, and then, I don't know, I guess my sophomore year in high school, joined a first band, and got fired and had a couple bands after that.
Right.
Yeah, I was about 14 at my girlfriend's house, and I heard a band practicing down the road, and I'm like, let's go hear the band. Yeah. And we walked down into the garage, or was it a garage or out back or something?
Back porch. But...
And he was playing guitar, and I was going to marry him.
Nice.
14, I walked over and sat down on his amplifier and looked up at him, and when we would tell this story, I thought I was going to marry him, and everybody's like, "Oh, Michael, what did you think?" And he said, "She better get off my amp."
That's right. Yeah.
But then when I was 16, he asked me out, and then we've been together since 1982.
Really? I was going to ask you that. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that.
And we would just sit and listen. I had a nice stereo on my 72 Duster, and we would just play Foreigner and Boston on the cassettes, and I would just ask him, "What is that sound? Oh, that's a Leslie speaker. What is that? That's a Moog synthesizer." And we just talked about music from day one.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So together since 1982.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So when you guys were you ever in another band before this, Cindy, or did you guys because what year did you guys start Mullet Over? It was
2011, the spring of 2011.
Gotcha. So then between or before then, how many were you in any bands before that or anything, or just
I was in a band when I was like 18 for a summer, just playing sax and keys. It was called 4 out of 5. They got it from 4 out of 5 dentist approved Trident.
There you go.
That's how they named the band. And and then you were in a couple bands.
I was in several bands in high school. And
Yeah.
out of high school, I got in a country band based out of Rosedale for I don't know, a year or two.
Yeah.
And then I moved to Florida and pretty much gave up. I was involved with a band out of Danville here.
Yeah.
Called Storm. I was their sound man, and last set I would get up and play some keys and guitar. But it was that or computers, and I couldn't get any kind of a computer job in 1983, 84 in this area, so my uncle convinced me to move to Florida. So I just put all the music stuff away and moved to Florida.
Yeah.
And started doing computers
And I followed him down.
Did you?
And
where at in Florida?
Tampa.
I moved down there. I was down there, I think I moved 07 and came back like 2010, I think. So I was down there about 3.5 years, right outside of Tampa. And then Clearwater Beach for a year. But
us too.
Really?
Yeah. We did Tampa, Clearwater Beach, and then finally Sarasota.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had a baby, and we were like, we want to go home.
Right. Yeah.
So we moved home when he was 7 months old.
And we didn't. I had an acoustic guitar I just dragged from state to state, house to house. Never played it.
So you didn't play down there at all?
No.
Yeah.
Nothing. We got married, started having kids, and there wasn't much time.
Right.
And,
Then when our second child was a little less than a year, some friends of ours said, "Hey, let's start a band, a Christian, a kind of pop band." And we were in that for about a year.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the drummer had MS and
Gotcha.
started having trouble keeping the beat. And so it was called Organized Chaos.
Gotcha.
We didn't name that one. But then, we had 9 children.
Really?
Yes. And
So you guys have 9 children?
yes.
Okay.
No twins.
Gotcha.
All from the same guy.
That's a running joke. She'll go out to the audience, during breaks and talk, if you can imagine, and talk to people, and it'll come up that we've got 9 kids, and so sometimes later in the night I'll be going to the bathroom or to the bar, and somebody will grab me and go, "Do you guys really have 9 kids?" I'm not much of a prankster, but this one works well. I'll say, "Well, those are from her first 3 marriages."
Yeah.
And they believe
I
him.
don't believe that as much as the 2 of us have had 9 kids.
Right, yeah.
So she doesn't appreciate that joke nearly as much as I do.
Yeah. So if, now, one of them is the drummer, is that correct?
Yep, that's the 5th born.
Gotcha. Are any of the other ones musically inclined
Yes.
like you guys are?
When we started Mullet Over, well, first Organized Chaos.
Yes.
We were in that, and then when we got done with that band, we said, someday we're going to start an 80s band. And then I got pregnant. Then we're going to start an 80s band. Then I got pregnant. Pregnant. So finally, when the ninth born was 4 and able to, the older children were there with him, and we decided it was time. And what was your question?
The music. How many of the kids are?
Oh,
yeah.
So when we started Mullet Over,
Yeah.
the original members were me and Mike and our oldest child on bass.
Yeah.
And he's the one who actually designed the logo.
Yeah, it's
His
awesome
name's
logo.
Corey, and he played bass with us for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he moved to Nevada to work at Lake Mead.
Gotcha.
So then we had to start hiring non-family members. And then...
Well, we already had we went through a bunch of drummers during that time, a couple drummers, and then had...
I mean, they gotta be really damn good to be in your band, so it's like you gotta
play it like the recording as best you can.
Yeah, you can't just
So
let
we
any
would...
schlub off the street be your drummer, because
No
you guys
schlubs.
don't miss a beat with
Well-
anything. So it's like they gotta be able to bring it. So
Well, we would come home, we record all of our shows, and we would play the recordings, and sometimes it was just not
Yeah.
jiving. And our Isaac, who's now the drummer, he would say, that's not right.
Yeah.
Now, he'd never played drums before other than a rock band. So
Yeah.
he'd get on his rock band drums, and he'd say, this is how it goes.
yeah,
And so one day we're like, get out of bed.
yeah,
We want you to audition. And so he's been with us for almost 8 years.
yeah. That's awesome, man.
And we do have musical children. Every single one of them can play an instrument or sing. Isaac actually creates his own music.
Yeah.
And gets commissioned to do things. He's amazing. And then our
And he plays keys and guitar,
he can hear.
and he just listens to the drum part and walks in and plays it. He hardly even...
He doesn't
Man.
practice.
Really,
It's just in his head.
that's awesome.
And then our last born, Jacob, the ninth born, he plays guitar. Mike said, as good as him.
Yeah, he's kind of self-taught, but...
Jeez.
So he's eventually going to be, another guitarist in Mullet Over, but it just, he's 16, he's working at Walmart, and,
Yeah.
you can't just pop a 16-year-old in there and expect him to.
Right.
It'll take a while,
Yeah, man.
but he's amazing.
Yeah. He's. I mean, that's what I was telling like my buddy. We were sitting there, and I'm like, okay, you know how bands sometimes, well, okay, I'm trying to think how I want to explain this. Just little bitty or like this little bitty notes or things like that, or like after the chorus is over and the song's almost over, and somebody else just sing a couple notes, just like throwaway notes towards the end. The singer will, like most bands do. Like you guys are like every little thing that you hear on the radio is exactly the way you guys do it. So it's like it was amazing. The people that were sitting right by me too. I was being a pain in the ass to my wife because they were into their cups big time. They'd been at Cover Bridge, so I think they're from Evansville, but she's going up there to dance and stuff, and my wife was like behind me. And I'm like, hey, she wants to go too, take her up there, and my wife was not happy with me because this lady just starts dragging her up every time. But you guys were playing Rio. This is how I started talking to that table, and they were like trying to figure out who sang it. And I leaned over, I'm like, it's Duran Duran, So then after that, every song, I was helping them tell them who sang, because like a lot of people know those songs, but I don't know who sings them. But I used to play like Name That Tune at.
Oh yeah.
And in Paris, where that country club used to be back. Okay, well, I mean it's where the golf course is. But anyways, back we're talking close to 20 years ago. My buddies have Name That Tune going every Thursday. And that was like a big deal, and it was always 80s stuff, and it's. That stuff just gets in your brain. And
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the best decade.
It's one of our favorite things to do in the car. Just get on Spotify, and it's like, okay, I can name that tune in like one note.
Yes, that's what. Yeah.
Yep, that's what it is. It's more than a feeling, Boston. It just.
Yeah, we do games like that on here, like on this pod. Sometimes we do 80s stuff, like we do Password, where it'll be like like the old celebrity, the old super password where you can only say one word and they got to guess it.
Yes.
We've been playing that on here quite a bit, and then we'll pick a year. We just had my in-laws in, and they picked 94, which I don't know why, but we picked 88, I believe. So we did like the top 10 songs from that year, top 10 TV shows. But yeah, I like I said, that's just the best decade. Okay, now if you were, let's say, your go-to if they were like, okay, first of all, do you prefer, because you sing some, how many different people sing? 3?
Yes.
Yes. You sing, okay, we need to talk about the other people in the band as well, like that are in there now. What are their names?
A.R. Fulkerson is the lead singer, and he's been with us for going on 11 years.
He's been with you guys that long?
Yep.
Gotcha.
When we lost our original female singer, she got married, had a baby, moved. We had to audition. I think we had 8 people lined up to audition for lead singer, and AR was first. And he sang "Sweet Child" and "Don't Stop Believin'," and we were blown away.
Yeah.
He's never been in a band.
Really? Yeah.
And he walked out, and we're like, cancel everyone. But fair,
Right.
we had and AR got it.
Yeah.
And he's amazing.
He'd done karaoke.
He'd done karaoke.
Right.
Through college and all.
And then there's Heather Williams. She's the female singer, and she's excellent. And she just joined us going on 4 years ago.
So then how many, okay, so did you do the same thing, like auditions for that too?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so how many people, how many people tried to...
It was much more difficult to find a female singer. We happened to...
There was probably 4
Yeah,
or 5, something like that.
Yeah, we didn't have the luxury of having them all show up one day and compare them. It was like, here's a girl who's willing to sing. So we would bring her in and practice with her, maybe do a couple shows, and then realize that's not going to work out.
Yeah.
And we'd find somebody else. We'd keep looking. And
What are you laughing for, Cindy?
Some of them,
When I laugh quietly, you don't ask me that.
Sorry. She was thinking about something else from earlier.
Yeah.
and every one of them have said this. Even if you sing karaoke, the music is exactly the same every time.
Yeah.
But in a live band, as close as we try to get it, tempo's usually maybe a little different. Things aren't quite the same balance, and so it's a big adjustment to sing. To sing with the live band.
And some people think they can harmonize because they've been doing karaoke.
Right.
And it's different. But Heather, we went to see her in a community theater play, and she came out and sang "Chain, Chain, Chain."
Nice.
And we were just like,
Yeah.
and Mike just looked at me and went, "Call her."
Nice.
So
yeah.
she, did you hear her do Barracuda?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
She just.
Okay, how do you guys decide who sings what? Like, what between like you and her? Because like you're both.
Because I have a very limited range and I'm not that good.
Well, I know, but I mean, as far as like, no, I don't know. I'm not saying I know.
I know. I heard you.
I mean, like,
well, it's
because how many songs? I mean, I'm trying to think that night. How many songs did you sing? Probably
maybe
6.
2 Joan Jett, a Blondie, and a Pat Benatar.
Yeah.
That's all I sing.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I'm just, that's my range, and it's kind of rock and not a lot of finesse. I have no vibrato and no range, and so I'm just
you're a
kind
great
of
singer. I mean, everybody.
comedy relief.
No, that's.
But Heather, so how do we decide? We keep a list of songs that are new suggestions that everyone has thrown into a pool on Spotify. From there, Mike and I choose what would be best. And then we have like to learn soon, and from there we have another list to learn now.
Yeah.
And so the singers put in on that list things that they can sing.
Gotcha.
Or we might just hear something like, say, Mr. Broken Wings,
right.
and we'll text them and say, hey, can you nail this? And they'll either say absolutely or no way.
Yeah.
So we just, that's how we do it.
That's awesome.
There's not a lot of female songs, rock songs,
Right.
to really choose from.
Yeah.
That we really even want to do.
Right.
And so that's a much more limited selection. So there's a couple where, like Steve Perry is exceptional as a guy. He has very high range, and so we let Heather sing.
Right.
That, and she does a great job with that. So
Yeah.
if it's a guy singer that's really, really high.
Yeah, she did Separate Ways, and what was the other one she did for Journey?
Stone in Love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great song. Do you guys have? Okay, when you go in.
Oh, we missed.
Go ahead.
We missed the bass player.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about members. Matt Hewlett, formerly of a band called The Nerve.
Gotcha.
He joined us in January. I checked with him. It was January. And he is exceptional.
Yeah.
he blows us away. And then we've got, of course, Isaac on drums, and me and Mike, and that's it.
Right.
And then we can't forget our crew. Dalton Boyles runs lights and is an excellent roadie, and Michael Hodson runs sound, and
Hodson's been with us like 6 years.
I think 8. I think as much as Isaac.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and Dalton's been there 3. So, once people come on, they like it.
Oh yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Well, there were a few that didn't last very long. They didn't like it, and that's okay.
Yeah,
it's not for you.
We don't want people there if they don't.
Right.
Mike will meet with the band at least once a year and say, "Do you enjoy it still? And do we still enjoy you? Is it a mutual thing?" And
well, our expectations are pretty high, and I try to make that clear beforehand.
Right.
Like I said, we went through a couple drummers because they would just kind of wing it, or
Yeah.
they would know the fills, but they maybe wouldn't do them in the right place.
Mm-hmm.
And she's convinced me of this, and I realize it too. We know the songs well enough that like when you're going from a chorus to a verse to a chorus, now there's a break or something, there's a particular drum fill that comes in there.
Yeah.
That we know, expect, and the crowd expects.
Mm-hmm.
whether they know it or not, they're
Right.
expecting that.
Yeah.
We see guys out there doing the drum fills that they know these songs by heart.
Mm-hmm.
And so if the drummer wasn't doing that or doing it in the wrong place, it would mess us up.
Yeah.
And it didn't just seem quite right. So
Yeah. That's what I was saying. You can tell there's nobody goes off. It's everything's just real tight, and it sounds exactly like you hear it.
I'm a big proponent of the percussion sounds, the dings, the vibroslap,
Mm-hmm.
the shaker,
Yeah.
the tambourine. I'm like, it sounds like a simple thing, but it's there.
Yeah. That's what's I was so impressed with. Just like, man, they don't miss anything. But okay, now you play keyboard and saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
Which do you do more? Well, obviously there's only so many songs with a saxophone, but keyboard, are you just perfectly comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with synthesizer. I'm not a great piano player.
Yeah.
I just am not. The lady we started the band with was a pianist, and she was excellent. We would do Foreplay Long Time by Boston, and
Yeah.
she would, not nail it, but do it better than
Right.
nobody even tries that song.
Yeah.
But I'm not super comfortable with piano. If it's fun, but if it's like really technical, like roll with the changes, makes me sweat. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's 30 degrees out, I'm sweating. So it's not my favorite thing, but
Yeah.
it's necessary.
Gotcha. Okay, when you guys go into a gig, do you have like a list of what you plan on playing, or do you just kind of go because this is a crowd? Sometimes take you a certain way where you'll play, or do you like know what you're going to be playing whenever you get there?
So we figured out early on, synchronized with the lights and everything
Yeah.
else. We have a predefined set list that we're going to play pretty much no matter what.
Yeah.
If we're running a little long, we might skip a song here or there.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime anybody in the band can just say, "I'm not ready to do this song," and we skip it, because I'd rather skip it than have them
Right.
screw it up or not be really confident about it.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree. It's true,
all
though.
of us have played that card. There's been songs where I'm not going to do this song well. I don't want to do it. That sometimes
And I'm
the
like,
singer-
come on, Mike, come on. or I'll be like, I got this. And he's like, I don't think you got this.
Some people are a little more overconfident than others, but the singer's voice might be, moving out, and they're like, I got to skip this one here.
Right.
But
Or-
even skipping one freaks out the light guy, because he's like, because he knows
Right.
the song. He thinks he needs to know what's coming up next, because he has it all synchronized.
Yeah.
But if there's a lot of people dancing, sometimes we'll have on the set list we'll have 2 options. And if people are just dancing like crazy, we'll just try to keep the dance going
Right.
for 3 or 4 songs at least.
Yeah, we might skip something like Barracuda that's not
Mm-hmm.
in 4/4 time, and it's funny to watch people try to dance to that anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now, we were, do you remember when we were walking off, we were asking you about your guitar?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so can you explain? I don't want to sound dumb.
Oh, it's
I don't want to sound ignorant, I should say.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's small.
Yeah.
So how do you explain it?
Yeah. So standing with 4 hours with anything on my back had become an issue. So I started shopping around and realized that they make these. It's called headless. So the strings are actually run backward.
Yeah.
And the tuner's down where the bridge is integrated with the bridge, and so there's no tuners or no neck at the top. And it worked out great because more than once I whacked a girl singer next to me with the old guitar on a tight stage, and so it not only is it's shorter, by at least 6 or 8 inches, it's lighter as well, and it's made by Kiesel. They used to be called Carvin, U.S. made out in California.
Yeah, it was really neat. So if let's see here, if you guys had to, let's say, you can pick any song you want to play. If you just had like a one go-to song for you, Cindy, what would you probably?
Baker Street.
Gotcha.
I've been asking for that for 11, 12 years now. And
To no avail.
Well, it's too big
The first
for
time
us to
you
do, but there are acoustic versions. All people want to hear is that sax.
Yeah.
And I told him I'm going to start playing it, and they'll just have to catch up someday. Just going to walk out in the audience and start playing it.
Yeah. Well, that's a great song. That's okay. If what's one that you like a go-to song for you?
YYZ. We used to do it when my son was playing bass.
Gotcha.
And had a crazy good drummer, one of our first drummers, Rob Mack, and he knew all the Rush stuff.
Yeah.
And so we pulled that off a couple times. It's an instrumental by Rush. It's all not even close to 4/4 time. It's all over the place, and it's just the three of them going crazy.
It was worth it just to see a few people in the audience go.
Yeah.
No,
definitely.
Other people are like, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
It's a Rush thing you wouldn't understand.
Yeah. I got up to go to the bathroom the other night, or not the other night, a couple weekends ago, whenever we were watching you guys, and they did Tom Sawyer while I was there, and Mandy's like, "You missed him," because she said that was amazing the way, but that lead singer, he can
yes,
hit about everything.
He can do he does some raps that are not on, he'll just make stuff up off the top of his head.
Yeah.
If we have a little break, some problem or whatever, and he's hilarious. But he can, like, word up, super freak.
Yeah.
He can make his voice sound just like the recording.
Yeah.
There's not much he can't do.
Right.
Boston. He can't do Boston.
Do what?
He can't do Boston.
Can't do Boston?
No. Just too high.
Yeah.
That's up there.
Yeah, he's up there with Steve Perry.
Right.
In range.
Yeah. Okay, I was going to ask too. There was, guys were playing Kiss Me Deadly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now. And then, but you couldn't even tell, but something, okay, do you remember what was going on? Like during that song, something was going on and your guitar wasn't, and you kind of, my wife couldn't see, but I could see. I'm like, I wonder if something either needed to get charged or because your guitar wasn't, nothing was coming out. Then you just kind of went over there and pushed a few buttons, and then it was fine. But like for like a verse or something like that, she was singing, but you could, and it still sounded awesome. But it was just like, to me, it was like if that was like a young kid, he'd probably been like panicking and stuff like that. But he just kind of went back there, and then he just kind of went over there and boop, 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 like hit a few things, and then
I think the keyboards weren't coming out the front on that song.
It was a terrible night for my keys.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's ridiculous. Nobody knows that. Would know that, but
her stuff is all MIDI. Goes into a Mac Mini.
Yeah.
Done in software. That's how she gets all her keyboard sounds. My guitar goes through a Mac Mini. The drums go through a Mac Mini. Lights are running through a Mac Mini. So we got 4 Mac Minis up there going, and then we have a digital mixer. And there's a lot of tubes and wires, and I'm the only one that I'm responsible for putting it together. So when stuff's broken, it's pretty much up to me. Hodson has a good idea of what might be going on out front, but if it involved the keyboards or the guitars,
Yeah.
it's kind of up to me. I think we realized that her keys weren't coming out there, so I've got a MacBook, and I am connected to all the different Mac Minis. So if something's not working, I got to figure out which one's broke and go in and try to get that sorted out.
Sometimes it can be tense, and Heather's like, I hate it when mom and dad fight.
Yeah. Well, the technology of it would be enough to freak me out, because I'm still, I don't know, like we were talking about kids, like there's a 12-year-olds that know more about it than I do, and I don't know, like even with this, I was going full disclosure, this has never happened before. They got here probably thinking, what the hell have we gotten ourselves into, because like the mics weren't for this is the first time this has happened. I've done this is like the 81st one, I think, first time the mics have ever like been screwed up. So they got here and the mics weren't working, so Mike like had to fix the mics. So but technology, to me, I'm like, I just feel like if I push the wrong button on something, it's just gonna like explode or something. So I'm just like afraid of it, so like I can't imagine everything you just said. There's no way I would, but anymore, that's how you've got to kind of embrace the technology, or you're screwed at this point, because it's
and the beautiful thing about the electronic drums, because they look like real drums because they have shells, but behind that it looks, if you took the shells off, it looks like rock band drums. They're electronic, but it allows us to turn the volume down because the drums go down with our whole volume, so we could play a room this size, or we can play a wedge at home and center. We can be as loud or as quiet as we need to be. And that's one thing that we still get complimented on. At Show Me's on the 28th, we had people saying, the waitresses and the manager.
We looked at you guys, we saw your costumes.
They were like, we can talk to each other.
Yes.
And
that's exactly what I was saying too. Okay. Yes. I'm glad you brought that up, because it was like, how many times do you go and listen to a band? You can't even. It's just like, okay, I'll talk to you in 45 minutes because I'm not going to hear shit except for this whole set. Like, you go to places, man. I'm thinking of stuff right now, like recently where I've been at one. I'm like, okay, like I'm sitting right by my buddy. It's just like I can't even talk. You guys, it's perfect. It was just the right volume, because you can still talk, and you can talk like I'm talking to you guys right now, hear everything, but at the same time it's loud, but it's a perfect type of loud. I mean, it was, that was another thing that was really impressive. I didn't know, is that what you guys are no matter what? I didn't know if that was because the setup there at 36, or if that's just what you guys are always.
That's our goal.
By design from day one. We hadn't been to bars for 25 years, and finally decided if we were going to have a band, I was going to do some market research. So went and listened to a couple bands at bars, and I take her in there, and 2 songs, she's gone. She's like, I can't stand it here. Me, I can tolerate it a little bit more.
Then I just started taking ear. And I'm like, okay, that sounds good.
Every one of them was so loud. I would see at the bar, the bartender's trying to hear what the order is. I hear, waitresses are out there bending over trying to figure out what people wanting to drink. I'm like, well, that's not just annoying, that's impacting their business. If they can't sell booze fast enough, that's the whole reason the bar is in business, is to sell booze. And so if a band is impacting their business instead of drawing people in, maybe it's a little bit of both. It's still a negative. And so I decided, well, we're gonna learn to play in a nice quiet. We started with regular drums and an amp on stage, and realized it's so difficult to get that balance.
The regular drums behind you, pop all night long. We would go home with our ears ringing. So
we lost a good drummer because he wanted to play his drums, and I was like, we had a cheap electronic kit, but to us it sounded just as good up front, but it was more controlled, and so that was an issue. The bass players have trouble hearing through earbuds, so whether they got really nice earbuds can help, but I don't mind having a little speaker on stage for the bass. But for the most part, there's no volume on stage whatsoever. It's all coming out front. And we try to get everybody wearing the in-ears, which that way you can hear it as loud as you want, and it's good and clear.
And I can hear Heather more or Mike less or no drums or lots of drums. Each song I have it programmed, so we go to the next song and my monitors automatically adjust to what I've saved it to.
Yeah.
Because I know I need to hear more of something in that song.
Yeah. How hard was it to get used with just to learn things like that? That's the thing that people don't understand is it's not just singing and playing. It's like things like that. Like you have to,
Well, we have a good friend, Jack LeVay, and he came over and spent countless hours with us showing us Main Stage, which is the program that I use, realizing that there are thousands of options of sounds, and I can get my keyboard to make exactly what it sounds like on the album, on the recording.
We spend a lot of time
that was
those, but
that was months of but now I understand the program, and most of our songs, like right now we're learning Sledgehammer and Freeway of Love, Aretha Franklin, and Love Is Like a Rock by Donnie Iris. Those are the next three. And I'll have to find those sounds, but now I know how to do it. But it did take probably 3 months of trying to figure out
just training basically.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite kind of story from one of your gigs that we can? Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey,
we've had some crazy stuff happen.
Okay.
I'm gonna.
Let's get into and don't feel like you have to hold back. It's fine. Just let her rip.
So we had 3 gigs to do in 24 hours.
Yeah.
2 were in Fort Wayne at a golfing community inside the country club that night, and then the next day outside on the golf course for some big thing they were having. We were actually like on the 19th hole or something. I don't know golf. And as they would come around...
Well, 19th hole is like, after you get down, you go drink, basically. There's 18 holes, 19th holes.
We were in the middle.
9th or 10th.
Okay. So, all right. I said I don't know golf.
No, it's fine. 19th hole would be like the clubhouse. We're getting drunk, like drinks. Yeah. Okay.
So we did those 2 gigs, and then we loaded up. That was in Fort Wayne, and we drove to Sullivan and did a wedding that was outdoors, but a tent. Okay. Yeah. So that was so cool, right? But... The night before we were to do all this, he got so sick with the stomach thing. And he's like, I can't do it. And I'm like, oh, yes, we are. And so I called my doctor at the time. She's not around anymore, but I was like, can you just give me some Zofran?
Yeah.
I just need Zofran. Anti-nausea drugs. We popped Zofran and Mike, threw him in the back seat of the truck, and my son, who'd never driven the trailer, drove to Fort Wayne while Mike tried to recover.
Yeah.
So we did that show.
We slept on the floor.
Slept on the floor in the
room we played.
Yes. And then we played outside, and then a storm was coming, and we hurried up and packed up and started to Sullivan. They called us an hour after we left and said that after we left, they had baseball-sized hail.
Oh, my.
It damaged the entire green, put holes in cars.
Yeah.
So we missed that. But that storm chased us all the way to Sullivan.
Jeez. Yeah.
By the time we got to the wedding, there was a tornado warning.
Oh, my.
And, well, it was crazy. There was a pig in there. And
there was a pig in there?
Yes. There was baby pools full of beer. It was pretty redneck. And the tent did not blow over, and we did the show.
But it was raining like crazy.
It was pouring.
Yeah.
It was...
So you're under a tent.
Yeah.
It was pouring. And there was a pig?
There was a pig. I don't know what to say.
2 ladies had a pet pig.
Yeah.
They were kind of
They carried it around.
Yeah.
They were the hit of the night.
Yeah.
So why'd you sleep on the floor, though? So you...
The guy didn't want to pay for a hotel. This was probably 10 or 9 years ago. And he didn't want to pay for a hotel, and he wanted us to play, night and morning. So he's like, you can just camp out in the dining room. So we all, our singer AR actually threw a blanket over a table for privacy and slept under a table.
And Jack was like behind the subs or something.
And Dan snored.
Humble beginnings. Dan snored. Yeah, well... You got Dan snoring, you got a pig, you got baseball-sized hail. Mike, you got one? Or no?
So before Heather, we had a singer
Yeah.
who was really good. She and her husband both did barbershop quartet stuff.
Uh-huh.
You can say her name. It's Lynn Hughes.
Yeah, okay. It was Lynn Hughes. Her husband was Aaron. And she sang with us for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
5 years.
And we were doing a corporate party in Terre Haute. No more details on that. Corporate party in Terre Haute. And, it was kind of a big factor. So you had the president who flew in from Germany and
Yeah.
all of the upper management people. And then you had the blue collar people and the temp workers and 100 and some people there. Big dinner. And we're playing. And after dinner, most of the white collar people bugged out. And so you just had a couple tables of guys just knocking back beers. And we were on a smallish stage. It was only about a foot high or whatever, but we will often have people come up and, say, play, this or that.
I was going to ask you guys about that too. How pissed off, how aggravating that.
Freebird.
Yeah.
Freebird is aggravating.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but I mean, people they'll want to hear Brown Eyed Girl or something.
Yeah.
And we made a conscious effort. It's like, you know what? You want to hear that? There's 15 other bands in the area playing that song tonight. Go listen to them.
Yeah.
And
But this crazy girl was just bouncing around all night.
And she was pretty tall too, and she came up, kind of punk haircut, and came up to Lynn, and we figured she was going to make a request or something. And she steps up on stage.
And Lynn leans over.
She kicks a beer over accidentally. Lynn leans over because the song hadn't quite started, and we were ready. And this girl just plants a big kiss right on Lynn's face. And we were all just freaking out. And
Lynn is so classy.
Yeah.
Okay, she's one of the Colts girls. What do you?
I'm not sure what they call it.
She's beautiful. She is strikingly beautiful.
Yeah.
And she's very classy. And she was like, "Oh no, thank you." And just her hands up in front of her face. And so that became a meme. Anytime somebody's doing something we don't like, we're like, "Oh no, thank you."
Oh my.
So she got fired.
Oh really?
She got fired.
Yeah.
Not Lynn, the temporary girl.
No,
Yeah.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Oh my. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So, how often do people bother you with that kind of stuff, try to request stuff, and how annoying does it get after? Because, here's my. Okay, I'm going to say something here. Like, a lot of these people just like play the hits, like everything's a wedding reception or something.
Yes.
And that's not the case. These I don't want to offend anyone, but you go to these. I went to a dueling piano thing not too long ago, and they're like, "We can play any song," and blah blah blah. And I looked over at my buddy. I'm like, "Isn't it a coincidence though? How every request they get is something you hear at a wedding reception?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
Yes. So that's what you guys are like. I mean, the songs you play are really popular, but it's not like most people just don't play them because they're not good enough to play them. They play this recycle, like again, like you said, Brown Eyed Girl, or but I can just see drunk people like, play Freebird. Oh my gosh, that drives me nuts.
It's usually my brother.
It's true. He does it on purpose.
just to
I'm in the back, we don't even know it. We'll hear somebody yelling Freebird. It's like, just get out of here. But, that's not. We would get requests. Usually it's during break. She's out walking around. Somebody say, "Can you guys play this? Can you play that?" And the answer is always no. No, we have our set list. Some people will come up and look at the set list because if they have a favorite song, they'll maybe want to.
Well, I'm not rude about it. I usually say, if you want to hear something special, we can put it on Spotify during break.
Yeah. Well, and on your website, you have a list of everything. I mean,
yeah.
And that was by design. We wanted to do stuff that wasn't what you'd hear in every other VFW, in town. That weekend. And so it's usually a little more complicated, and we have to spend more time learning it. None of us grew up doing all the old time favorites for 20 years anyway. So it's not like. Because a lot of bands, you could pick 5 guys and throw them together, and they're going to know a couple hours worth of music because they've all been playing the similar kind of things.
Yeah.
We didn't have that kind of background necessarily, so we're going to learn it all new from fresh anyway. So let's pick out some of the more the cool stuff. It doesn't have to be necessarily the top 40 stuff.
Was it always going to be 80s for you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And now arguably, early 80s was when we were in high school and listening to music. So there's a lot of stuff that technically came out in the late 70s, but we were still listening to it in the 80s. Stuff that came out in 1989, we don't necessarily, not familiar with, and don't consider that a good source of stuff.
But we
still do.
We do X's and O's, which is a current, more new song.
Yeah.
Just because it's fun. And so we'll branch just a little bit, but I mean, 80s is timeless. It's the last era where the musicians were...
Don't branch out. Just stick right, yeah.
And people said to us like 5 years ago, well, when the 80s are no longer popular, are you going to start doing the 90s? And I'm like, when the 80s are no longer appreciated...
Yeah, we'll all be dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. We did, me and my wife, she does a lot of these with me. I figured she'd want to be out here. She probably just didn't want to get in the way today. I don't know, whatever. Or that... We do have a child in the house. Maybe that's why too. But we did the like 3 different episodes of 90s one-hit wonders. Okay, and the music in the 90s is just garbage. I mean, I'm not trying to, but my gosh.
Well, the guitar playing went from virtuosos like the guys in Kansas, and then in the 90s it was like playing an open chord with one finger and sliding it up and down. And if they do a solo, it's usually you don't even want to hear it. I mean, I consider the quality of guitar playing really, really bad, and a lot of the vocals singing too.
It's auto-tuned.
The grunge of like Nirvana. He was a poet. He wasn't a guitar player.
Right.
He wasn't a singer.
Yeah.
They were unique, and that's kind of what made them popular. And then there was the other pop side that was all
the pop
auto-tune.
Yes, the pop stuff was
recycling the same chord patterns.
I guess I'm painting with too broad of a brush there, because the grunge stuff, some of that I guess I like, but how I was in junior high at that time, but and like Metallica, stuff like that. But but like when we were going through those one-hit wonders, some of those songs, the poppy ones, I mean, it is just so bad, and that's why I'm glad I'm the youngest of 4, because I grew up with 80s and memorizing all that stuff. But like in the 90s when we were in junior high and high school, when you look back on it now, I just tell like everybody around my age that we got screwed like with the music when junior high and high school, because it's just not.
Yes.
You can thank the record companies. They were like, okay, here's the formula. It's going to be a verse and a chorus, and then some kind of a synth solo and a verse and a chorus and fade out. And it's these basic chords, and the record companies really just ruined music, and they did. Yeah. They did a really good job.
I mean, we did Rush at our wedding. Mm-hmm. We got married in 1986, and at the end of the Hemispheres album, there's a song called "The Heart and Mind United." The Sphere. Yeah. And it is about the heart and mind being united. So that was on our wedding
just an acoustic guitar.
Invitations. Mike and Cindy, the heart and mind united, and then
none of our family got it.
He played acoustic, and I sang that short song, and they were like,
"That's okay."
But to you guys, it was They just people I get it. Some people just don't appreciate. They don't. But okay, what? Now these other things are popping in my head. So, okay, what do you think about... Okay, so in the 70s, you had all these bands that were... or like, okay, let's say you got Billy Joel's stuff in the 70s. You've got Elton John stuff in the 70s. You got like... Well, no, not necessarily Aerosmith, but like Rolling Stones, like all the David Bowie, all these guys. And then Heart in the 70s. And then everything... They switched to... poppier, not corny stuff, but you know what I mean. Like and I was listening to a podcast with Ann Wilson was on there, and she was just talking about cocaine. She was just like, in the 70s, we were all, it was more like rock, and then it got a little poppier with all these different kinds of. But she said that a lot of that was a lot of people were on that, and it was just sped up. But what do you think about? Do you think do you consider them like selling out by getting all poppy in the 80s when they were more like heavier and rock and stuff in the 70s? Or do you think they were just going with the times? Or
Well, I think they were probably. I'm speculating. I think they were forced to adjust.
Yes, I
think
agree.
The record
100%.
company said, "Well, your last album didn't do too great. It should sound more like this."
Yeah.
Cheap Trick, one of their best hits, "The Flame."
Yeah.
From the 80s.
Yeah.
They were big in the 70s.
Right.
Not doing so well in the 80s. Record company said, here's 2 songs that these other people wrote. You have to pick one, and
Yeah.
we're going to make it number 1 for you. And they chose to do The Flame. Rick Nielsen's guitar solo in it is almost, you can almost imagine him standing in the studio in the corner
Yeah.
playing this solo, flipping everybody else off every chance he got, because
Yeah.
I'm sure he hated to do that. He wanted to play his own material.
Right.
But the record company said, pick one of these 2, or you're out.
Right.
We'll just cut you loose, and
Yeah.
no more recordings,
Yeah.
no more touring, and then the record company magically, that song goes to number 1. And
Yeah.
and between them and the radio stations who
Yeah.
were being manipulated, I think.
I think they just had to. They were forced to.
To do what the record companies
Yeah.
wanted.
You think about Hart with Barracuda, and you think about Hart like 10 years later singing that "All I Want to Do Is Make Love to You" song. It's, you know what I mean? It's just like
Yep.
that's a big,
Yes.
and you can go
Yes.
right down the list. Okay, think about Mick Jagger and David Bowie redoing that "Dancing in the Street" that video. It's just like
Yeah.
10 years earlier, you weren't acting like that. You were doing,
Yes.
you know what I
If
mean?
you'd have told him 10 years from now you're going to be doing this,
Yes.
Bowie would have.
Right.
He wouldn't have believed you.
Yeah.
for sure.
But I mean,
I don't know. If
the thing is though, they did, you call it selling out or going adjusting with the times, but I love all the 80s stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
well,
but-
some of it was crappy and
Right.
stuff. Some of the
Corny,
like
but-
that was especially from the bands like you mentioned, Hart and Aerosmith.
Yeah.
A lot of them, a good number of them, I think validly would say sold out in one
Yeah.
way or another. They compromised.
Yeah.
And because they wanted to keep playing, they wanted to
Right.
keep touring. I'm sure there's some that were like, nope, we're going to do it my way, and those are the bands that they're one-hit wonders now.
Yeah.
Because they,
Yes.
you know,
Like, if you listen to Billy Joel's another, and one Foreigner too, like, you know,
Yeah.
their stuff in the 80s though, they had that "I Want to Know What Love Is" song, but that's just kind of like every band had to have a ballad type.
Yes.
Yeah.
That Foreigner 4 album, that was our favorite. That's one of the cassette tapes we listened to in the duster, among other things. But anyway, we've done Jukebox Hero,
Yeah.
Urgent.
They're great. How the hell are they not in the Hall of Fame?
I know.
I don't even.
Yeah.
So stupid.
It's
Yeah.
not a Hall of Fame.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a joke now.
Yeah, and it's some couple or 3, 4, 5 guys who are like, let's pick these guys
Yes.
because I want
Yeah.
to have like these and they don't like this. It's not any kind of a popularity contest. It's some couple doofuses who decide. I mean,
It wasn't always like that, was it? I mean, it used to.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Didn't Dolly Parton just get?
Yeah, she actually declined it though because she said that not because she didn't think she did, but just because kind of like what we're saying. She's like, that's other people deserve to be in there, not me.
Yeah.
Like she declined her invitation, I think, or something. But
Nice.
Yeah, I don't pay any attention.
yeah,
We've done some corny songs that went over well, and we'll bring them back now and then. But like Wild Wild West.
yeah, Escape
And-
Club.
Yes.
Yeah,
and Whip It. Whip It Good.
Yes.
And we did Safety Dance.
Safety Dance is amazing. So,
But
yeah.
one corny song that I'm pushing for right now that I just can't get out of my head is Blinded Me with Science.
Yeah,
I cannot get it out of my head.
yeah,
It's so funny.
it's
and
funny.
AR will sound just like
Who's gonna
that.
do the cheesy? The blinded me. Who's gonna do all that?
Probably Matt.
Science.
Yeah.
Science,
Who would
yes.
get Matt to do that?
I just want to go,
Yeah.
See, when somebody brings up the song, the first thing I do is listen to it and go with it. Well, there's a keyboard sound. There's another keyboard sound. There's 5 keyboard sounds going on all at the same time.
That's my
We're gonna
favorite
have-
thing.
We're gonna have trouble doing that.
Yeah.
But you know what? When we did Bon Jovi, we did Living on a Prayer and what was the other one? Bad Medicine.
Yeah.
I can split my keyboard, my piano. It could have 6 sounds of synth. My top keyboard can, however many you want.
Yeah.
Just a couple keys do a certain thing. I can do anything. So Blinded Me with Science does not
Yeah.
scare me.
There's so many. That's what makes the 80s unique too, because you want a little Guns N' Roses, fine. If you want a little cheesy, if you want to go a little cheesier,
Yes.
I was, when I was little, I'm just having a memory here, like, my oldest sister here that lives right over here, she was, like, getting ready to go out one night, and she was, like, a senior in high school, so I was, like, in grade school, and Loverboy by Billy Ocean was playing in her room, and I was, like, in my underwear, like, outside the door, like, lip-syncing it and dancing and stuff, and she had this... And her hot friend, who's like a senior in high school, comes walking in because they were getting ready to go out, and I was just like, just started like bawling. I got embarrassed and started bawling and like ran out of the room. But yeah, but like that kind of stuff. Like Billy Ocean had a hell of a run in the '80s. There's so many good bands, good singers, like, and it's fun to, I mean, there's just Mandy and I don't know if you guys ever do this, but we go back and listen to the Casey Kasem's top 40s, and those were, I don't know, have mixed feelings about it because it's like, you wish you could go back then because it's like it was just, but because it was back in the day when, now Hall & Oates is another one. Mm-hmm. They're amazing. You guys they kind of got a little more poppy in the 80s, but they've always been awesome.
Yeah. Sarah, was slow and piano and they never really did much in the way of rock stuff. It was very much on the pop side, but clever and unique, not
right.
regurgitated over and over.
So, we were. Oh no, go ahead.
Oh, I saw a funny thing one time where Oates said, "I'm the guy in the band that does this." Private eye.
Yeah, pretty much. It's quite a funny story about him too. Like I was in college, I went to Eastern, and I'd had this professor who, for my major, I had him for probably 3 or 4 different classes, and I was always the guy in the back row, like with my hat down, just leave me alone. Like, attendance was a little shaky, but so whatever. I was that guy. So I was in the back one day, and he's up there, talking, giving his little lecture, and out of nowhere, he brings up, he says that Oates is his brother-in-law, and he says it like out of nowhere, and he says it just like it's no big deal, and I'm like, what the hell did you just? In my mind, and nobody cared, and I was just like, what? Like you just buried the lead. That should have been the first thing you told me.
God.
He just kind of nonchalantly throws out there that Oates is his brother-in-law, and I was like, holy shit, like but
wow.
But he was, because I think he was at like Texas A&M before he was at Eastern or something like that. But I was like, man, if you'd have told me that first day, I'd have been perked up a little bit more. But so I thought that was pretty cool. But
well, I held Ted Nugent's thigh.
You did what? What to his thigh?
I stabilized it.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
Back in the early 90s, I was president of Mothers Against Drunk Driving in the Wabash Valley, and we had a big deal in Indianapolis at the Brickyard. Bunch of stars: Peter Cetera, Knight Rider. I can't think of his name right now. David Hasselhoff.
Baywatch, Knight Rider,
Yes, and Ted Nugent. And they did stock car racing.
Yeah.
And then it was a big fundraiser, and afterwards they all went to a tent to eat, and we got to go because I was president of that chapter. And so Ted Nugent's standing there with his hot wife, and Mike was like, there's Ted Nugent. I was like, I'm going to go ask for his autograph.
Yeah.
So my back is to Mike. Ted is facing Mike, and I go up to him. He's like this tall, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking up at him, and I said, Mr. Nugent, I'm so thankful for everything that you do to support MAD. And so he says, I tell you what, I got an 8-year-old son. People come around and try to push drugs on him, I'm going to slam him. They try to push alcohol on him, I'm going to slam him. And so all Mike sees is Ted Nugent slamming his fist in his hand and me standing there looking, and he's like, what's going on? So then I said, can you please sign my program?
Yeah.
So he hikes his leg up to write on there, and he just got a little wibble wobbly. So I just stabilized his thigh instinctively, and his wife was not threatened at all. But that's my claim to fame.
Nice.
I stabilized Ted Nugent's thigh.
Very good. He's still going strong.
Oh, we just saw him in concert
Did
at the
you?
Mill this year.
Yeah, there was a couple that we hang out with a lot. They went and saw him for their anniversary, like Peoria, I think, or something. But yeah, he's still. How old has he got to be? He's got to be
70.
That's another thing. What do you think about these guys that can still do it when they're like Rolling Stones are 80 and they are having a tour? You know, how do they? I don't
know.
It was actually,
especially the way they've lived.
what's the singer? Steven Tyler.
Steven Tyler, yeah.
They canceled his tour
Did they?
because he's got a throat thing.
Yeah.
Like it's canceled.
Yeah. What was the name of that tour? It was something clever. I can't remember. It was supposed to be about their last one or something. But think about how he sang for all those years.
I know.
How could you? How could you not have a?
Yeah.
I think that's crazy.
Well, and Bon Jovi just hands just points his microphone out to the audience for the high parts because he can't do that.
Vince Neil, they had to shut him down because he wasn't not good.
Some of them are just they should have quit a long time
Yeah.
ago.
Who did you say they had to shut down?
Vince Neil from Mötley Crüe. Not so good. But then but like I said, the Rolling Stone, Keith Richards is still 80 years old playing it, and it's like the way he's lived his life. The fact that they are upright and can do all that, just crazy.
It is. It kind of negates the argument of drugs are bad for you. I mean, of course, they look like they were 60 and 70 years old when they were in their 30s and 40s.
Right.
So they haven't changed much for 50 years.
Yeah.
Rick Emmett from Triumph is probably got to be close to 70.
Yeah.
And he could sing and play guitar like he could when he was in his 20s.
Really? Yeah.
He's still amazing. There's a few of them that are out there like that.
Styx.
Tommy Shaw.
Dennis DeYoung.
Did you guys like Damn Yankees or no?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're actually, oh my gosh.
Not over there.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so let's do like just let's do your favorite bands. You guys familiar with like a Mount Rushmore? So like that's like your top 4. Mm-hmm. So what would your Mount Rushmore of 80s? It could be solo artists or bands, whatever. Like who's your favorite?
For me, it's Styx. It's Foreigner. It's Little River Band.
Yeah. I should have texted you guys this yesterday so you had time to think about it. Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I'd have to.
Is really difficult.
Kansas, maybe.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
What would yours?
If I could had an option to go back and see them, because there were a few bands that had impressive albums.
Yeah.
But you go to watch them live, and it was a huge disappointment. One of the bands that I remember that I was totally blown away by their sound, quality of sound, was Supertramp.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell
They're
you.
underrated. They had a lot of good stuff.
I couldn't tell you 3 songs off any one of their albums, but we had a couple of so just to go back and see them again, because to do that in the early 80s was quite an accomplishment before all the digital mixers and effects. But no, top bands really would have to be Rush, Kansas, and Boston would be up there. They were kind of a disappointment because of their production. They were so slow coming out with albums and whatever.
Yeah.
Queen was awesome.
Oh yeah.
We saw Queen. We saw Billy Squier open for Queen in 1982.
Nice.
It was.
You guys played several, or no, 2. Well, how many Billy Squier? 3? 2 or 3?
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2.
Yeah, those were great too.
Yeah. We've seen
Where did you see that?
Market Square Arena.
Dang. Yeah.
We've seen 22 concerts together.
Yeah.
And that's back when we could still have the stubs to keep
Yeah, we paid $12.50 for that concert.
Yeah. I'm just the older I get, it's like crowds and all that stuff. I was perfectly happy just going and watching you guys. Like even, yeah, like I said, it was perfect because music was perfect. And like I said, like you guys said, it wasn't I could still talk to people at my table and things like that. But yeah, I got to where just avoiding crowds at all. It's just like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, when you get older, it's kind of like,
yeah.
But I saw at Deer Creek or whatever, I've been there several times. Saw Tom Petty there. He was really, really good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he was great. And hell, he played and played and played too. And then there was one where 1250 reminds me of this. I think that's how much this ticket was. It was like Poison, Great White, Rat, and somebody else. Shit, who was it? LA Guns, maybe, I think, or something like that. But that's back when they were. That's been 20 years ago, probably. But yeah. Have you guys? What's it called now? It's not Deer Creek anymore. What's it?
Yeah.
Do you guys?
I think it's changed since then. It's now the XYZ Bank.
Yeah. When we first got married, we've been married like 8.5 years. We first got married. My sister-in-law talked us into going to there, and it was Kid Rock, but Foreigner opened for him.
Oh.
So we got to see them. They were, they were great, and that's another band that's getting up there, but they sounded really good.
I think the only original guy is the guitar player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that might explain something.
We saw Yes open for Styx, and Yes looked like they were going to take a nap.
Yeah.
And Styx came out, and Tommy Shaw has the same smile and the same energy he's had since I first started listening to them.
Yeah. Well, Yes, they had Owner of a Lonely Heart.
Yes.
Is that... I can't think of anything else they even had. But
well, they had a
Roundabout.
From the 70s.
Right.
So they were all well into their 70s 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
They looked like they needed a nap.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I was going to tell you, too, we're going December 2nd. You guys are at Clinton, right?
And Victor Beer Company.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes, we're going to go with my buddy and his wife.
That's a great place.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever been there.
Well, they're relatively new, and we're happy to be working with them. We want to kind of.
Yeah.
It's a nice. It's the right size of a place in Clinton. We don't play in Clinton very often, in Rockville and Terre Haute, but not Clinton. And so,
yeah. How many gigs? I saw how often do you usually, let's say, in a given 6-month span, how many gigs probably would you?
The goal is always 2 per month, and sometimes it turns out to be 4 in a month because you just can't hardly say no to some things.
Yeah.
But I counted before we came here, and to date we've done 314 shows.
Dang. Nice. And all of them in Indiana?
Illinois.
You've been over here?
Just
Effingham to
Palestine.
To the west. We played Evansville. Once we did a couple shows at the where
Metzger Zoo, the wedding.
Yeah, where AR's from Paoli.
Oh, Paoli, yeah.
We played at the casino at
French Lick. We've done the
French Lick.
casino.
Oh, really?
We
Cool.
did the casino twice
before they
there.
took the stage out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that wasn't even from us. I mean, we were probably going to go anyway, but our buddy and his wife that met us at the 36, they texted us about you guys being there. So
Nice.
yeah, we're going to go for sure.
It's cool. Thank you for doing that.
Well, yeah, this has been awesome. I could talk about music all day, but I probably sounded pretty ignorant when I was asking you questions about the instruments and things like that. But as far as, just bands and groups and music,
Yeah.
especially from that decade, best decade ever.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And now we got shirts. We're in. Me and Mandy be wearing our shirts.
Great.
We should have brought one for your sister.
Oh, I know. Damn it. Maybe we'll get her one for Christmas or something, but yeah. And then we have shirts, and we will give you guys a couple.
Yep,
too.
we got them here.
Oh, nice.
I've already been to your bathroom and seen your house, met your child.
That's not where you got the shirt, was it? There wasn't a pig in there, was there?
No pig.
Well, yeah, this has been awesome. Thanks for coming over. I'm glad.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And again, they are Mullet Over. Oh, I was going to ask you, what made you come up with the name? Just
Interesting story. We were having our first band meeting in March of 2011 at our kitchen table, and everybody was having ideas, and Mike was getting stressed about it. And
Well, I had my spreadsheet out. I wanted to know who had what equipment, what songs do we know,
Yeah.
what instruments does everybody play.
we're all coming up with names, and
Nobody would pay attention to me, and I was losing my patience, but it
Right.
was just, you could spend days talking about names and bouncing them around.
and
Yes.
he's like, "Look, I just need to mull it over." And I was like,
Well, they came up with a dorky one, and I was just like, if I just agree to it, we'll change it later. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let me mull it over, and we'll just go on to the.
Can I ask what the dorky one was?
I said retrospective. It was my just, it was dorky. So mull it over, and we told our son, "Can you come up with a cool '80s logo?" And he sketched that out, and we were like, yes,
Yeah, that's great. Because it's a pun.
it is.
I love '80s. I love puns. It's perfect.
Yes.
But and it's you hear it and it's
Yeah.
it's catchy. It's very good.
More annoying than people coming up and asking for Brown Eyed Girl or whatever. They'll say, well, "Where's the mullets?"
And then we say
yeah,
the mullet's over. It's over.
That's
So
right.
that's how that shuts them up.
That's pretty quick. They're like, "Oh,
Yeah,
usually a drunk bald guy."
that's right. That's me. Yeah, yeah. Well, that's a great name. And a lot of times when it's spontaneous like that, that's when you get the best
Yes.
stuff. Usually, yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yes, and again, we'll see you on December 2nd. All right,
Cool.
but all right, I was going to tell you. Whenever I was starting this podcast, Stevie, my son, he was like, "I'm like, I need like a closing line or something, And I'm like, "What do you think it ought to be?" And he just went, he's like, "That's that." I'm like, "Perfect." So that's how we close these out. So, thank you for listening, and that's that.
That's great.